Welcome back to Capital Markets. We're live on Channels Television in the economic capital of West Africa, Lagos, where we're talking about. Now, before the break, we discussed the NASD Enterprise Portal, which the NASD OTC Securities Exchange came up with late last year, and it's been having it's been blazing the trail, basically, with Mr. Bola Jamale, who is the Chief Executive Officer of that company, still with us here to discuss more about that. First, before we continue with that part of the discussion, the NASD OTC, with this number we have right now on the screen, has improved a lot since the beginning of this year. Walk us through the drivers of this, the drivers of these numbers, basically.
Well, it's quite interesting. We've had about 3.5 billion traded this year in value. And I think in those 2 months, and this is just January and February, in those 2 months, it's probably about 85% of what we traded the whole of last year. So it's a pretty significant change this year on last year. I believe that it's a reflection of the recession when it hit and us coming out of it. And there has been a lot of attention being paid to Nigeria, looking at how stable the country is by investors both inside and outside the country. So people do want to invest, but they're not really sure. If they're not sure about the environment, if there's a certain amount of instability in the general economy, then really how can you invest? So once investors start seeing a more stable environment, then there's a likelihood that they will start investing in the equity side of the market.
And then there's a likelihood that as election approaches, they make a flight again.
Well, then there's a possibility that they will slow down on investing in equities and put the money into other sorts of investments. But what we have also found, and this is historical on the OTC market, what we have found is a lot of the investors are not necessarily portfolio investors who are coming in for a short investment. They tend to be larger stake-seeking investors who are looking to buy up maybe 5% or a sizable chunk of the company and hold for a period of time. So there's a lot more stability in those kind of investors, and I think those ones will still continue to invest in the country.
Okay, so let's go back to enterprise development, which is a key area of the platform that investors can actually look at private equity now as things are. You talked about the fact that it aligns with the ERGP. How does that work?
Okay, so part of the main objective of ERGP is diversifying the economy, encouraging enterprise, encouraging essentially the grassroots of the economy. And what this does is it creates an alternative market, an alternative investment market for them. You do not need to be a certain size before you can approach the capital market. You do not need to mortgage essentially your whole company or your warehouse before you can then get funding to start, well, not to start, but to expand your business. Once you have got a business plan and so on, there's a possibility that there's a private equity investor, a venture capitalist who is looking to join you in your venture and move it forward. So that's what we are doing. We're creating a portal where both parties can actually meet, enter into discussion, enter into negotiation. At the end of it, if they reach an amicable valuation, then there can be an investment flow. For us, what is important is for us to, one, make it easy for both parties to meet, which is the first thing the portal does. The second thing is actually recording the information as to what kind of capital flows. We find that a lot of planning falls short in the economy because there isn't enough data, there isn't enough information. So what we are doing as well is we're seeking to capture that information and make it available so we can plan better.
So if a PE investor is looking at investing X amount of money in my company, do you have specifics for the kind of structure that will be designed for that?
We won't get involved in the transactions. Not at all. Essentially, we are, first of all, a self-regulatory organization. We coordinate markets, we run portals. We do not negotiate in transactions, we do not hold parties together. That is not our role.
So where does the NASD make money from?
Well, surely we are actually very nice people, but in addition to that, there is an entry fee for players who are coming into the market. There's an entry fee for due diligence advisors, for investors, as well as for the investors' advisors as well. We do not charge the enterprises themselves because we believe that the enterprises will still encounter a fee or a percentage if they successfully attract capital that they will be paying to their advisors. So we leave the enterprise and the advisor to sort out their own financial arrangements, but